Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Acquire podcast, where we're talking about launches and list builds and lead generation, exit strategies. I just added that this year, but it's fun to talk about, and everything in between. I love doing this podcast. And if you're enjoying it, please make sure you are following just so you don't miss anything, because you're not going to want to miss today. Today, I've probably got one of the biggest guests I've ever had on this podcast. And trust me, this was a big get, and I'm excited. So, I'm gonna like sort of tease this a little bit before telling you who it is, because buckle up, we have got a powerhouse. This person has been building an empire, teaching entrepreneurs how to make their businesses work without them. He's the man behind a globally recognized brand called ActionCOACH. You may know who it is now. He's a best-selling author, keynote speaker, self-proclaimed business nerd, which is what I like. We can nerd and talk all day. But don't let these accolades fool you, because my guest, Brad Sugar's approach is so completely down to earth, and I'm excited. So, Brad, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, g'day. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's fantastic. Okay. I was on your podcast a couple of months ago, and I've
hmm
been waiting into anticipation to have you back on mine or to come onto this podcast, which was great. And the couple things that I've wanted to talk to you about, which kind of were sparked from our conversation way back when I was on yours, was scaling strategies,
Yeah.
right? So you've scaled multiple businesses to
hmm
incredible heights, like seven figure. What was the biggest mindset shift that you had to go through from running a small business to a multi or managing a multi-million dollar business?
Oh, look, these days we do hundreds of millions of dollars, and I think the biggest thing is remind yourself that it is all just one small thing done multiple times.
Right.
You don't build a solar farm by building a solar farm. You build a 1 inch square solar panel and you click it together with another one, and then you click it together with another one, and that sort of thing. Scaling in my books is like X times Y. First of all, create X. What is X? At McDonald's, X was the McDonald's restaurant. For me at Action Coach, it is the coaching business that is run locally. And so I look at, how many ways can we do that? So we build the coaching business, we build $1 million business, and then we put it in 1,000 locations. So you do $1 billion sort of thing, if that makes sense. I was coaching one of my clients the other day. They have a $20 million a year home remodeling building business. And we did the research. There's 82 cities in America that are similar to the city that they're in. So we get a $20 million business. We put it in 82 cities. Hey, presto. It's not hard to do the math sort of thing. But I think the biggest thing for most people when it comes to scale, where they fall down, is they build the business too much about themselves in the beginning. And I made that mistake in the beginning. I was like, I would say to people the stupid thing of, look, I'm the owner. I'm always here. Call anytime. And they did. And unless I was there, they didn't do business. But I trained my customers the wrong way. What you got to do is train your customers to do business with the business, not train your customers to just do business with one person.
Yeah.
Second thing, in order to scale, you've got to have a repeat product, repeat service, preferably subscription, membership, monthly fee, but paid annually, preferably. If it's monthly, then they quit monthly. If it's annual, then the only time they quit is once a year. People saying, well, what happens if they quit at the end of the year? Well, you had them for 12 months, not 9, or that sort of thing. But you should have also added more value so they don't quit, is probably the big thing. And then finally, it's about the people. If you want to build a scaled business, I had a wonderful CFO who was really great when we were doing $10 million a year. The moment we started doing $100 million a year, he's not a great CFO anymore. Sometimes you got to demote people or over promote or bring in someone at a higher level that has done that before, sort of thing. Even
Yeah.
for me as CEO of my own company, I love marketing, and but I would make the mistake of trying to be the CMO rather than hiring a CMO of someone that's been the CMO of a couple of $100 million business. So even if you're at a million, hire people that have been doing 2 and 5 million rather than hiring someone that's only done 500 grand and training them up, sort of thing. Hire people who are overqualified so they can grow the business for you.
I love that. And I was actually funny that you're talking about CMO, because I'm working in a couple different companies now as their CMO. And it's fantastic because I'm coming in, like you're saying, like qualified to help build and grow the business, which I think is super fun. And I just love the marketing side. I can just geek out there all day. I'm sure you could too. But one of the things that you said was really fascinating is I love when people sort of break down and say, you know what, I put myself too much in front of the business.
Hmm.
If you are the brand, it's really hard to scale. And I think most coaches do that in the beginning. And it's the Brad Sugar show, right? Or it's the Jenny Wright show. And it's not necessarily Action Coach show.
Hmm.
And that's part of the problem because then you have to be front and center all the time. You have to do all the calls or whatever. And you are the front and center person versus when you're kind of getting into more into that CEO mindset. Now it's not necessarily about you. It's about the process that you build and the thing that you can repeat, like you said, which I think is great. Do you remember your first hire? Do you remember who that
Oh,
was
I
and what
remember my
position?
first hire was my best friend from college, and it was great, but it didn't. There's so many things you have to learn to be a business owner, right? Not
Yeah.
just good at the product or the service of the business, but you got to learn how to be a business owner and learning how to recruit, hire, train, all of those sorts of things. And even I was coaching a business person the other day, and he's hiring a new chief IT officer, and I said, listen, do you know enough to ask the right questions? Like, you don't need to know their job, but you need to know enough to ask the right questions. And even like hiring a marketing agency, I was chatting with someone the other day. I own two marketing agencies, and I said to them, well, what are you going to ask? And they didn't know enough to ask. I said, well, at least jump on ChatGPT and say, what are the 10 questions I should ask a marketing agency before hiring, the sort of thing, at least
Yeah.
learn enough to be able to ask the right questions of potential hires and that sort of thing. But oh, look, I remember my first hires because I didn't know what I was doing, and I just knew I needed hands. It
Yeah.
was, it was the warm bodies hiring philosophy.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
there's a
Bums and
chair, it's
seats.
full, it must be okay.
Yeah.
Whereas today, we're very, very clear. My hiring ads all start with, if you're the rock star CMO we're after, you will be. And my whole ad just says, you will be this, you'll have done this, you'll love this, you will this. It's all the word you, which is central to all great marketing that's ever been done, the word you.
Hmm.
And so by the end of reading it, someone will say, that's me. And
Yes.
so but you've got to do a lot of work to be able to write that ad. You can't recruit people unless you know what is their exact job, how will you measure them, and what's the type of person you're after. Like, what's their profile, whether it's disc profile or working genius profile. You got to know, okay, you've got to be this type of person. And
Especially to fit in with the culture that you've already built, right?
yeah. And that's where
Exactly.
documenting your culture. We do a 12-week leadership training. And the first thing we teach all leaders is you can't be a leader without framework. So, where is your vision, mission, culture? Where's your objectives, key results, and business plan? If you don't have those, you can't lead. It's like, I'm going to steer a ship. Show me the ship. We don't have a ship. Okay, then we can't steer the ship. And so a lot of
Yeah.
businesses don't have a ship and they're trying to steer it. And it's like, no, no, no. Framework first. Where are you going? What are you aiming to achieve? What's the meaning behind this business? What is its purpose, etc.?
Do you agree with me that a lot of people who are building businesses from scratch, who are right now maybe multi six or heading towards that seven figure, that they're not thinking of their business and running it like a company? They're still having that small business mindset. They're still
Yeah.
thinking little potatoes. Do you find that a
It's
lot?
it's easy to get stuck in that, Jenny. It really is, because
Yeah.
the day-to-day stuff comes up every single day.
Yeah.
I have an advantage in all of my 9 companies. I don't go to the office. I don't go in, so I can be chairman. I don't like, there's a difference between being a CEO and being the chairman. CEO of your own business, you're probably like, if you're the owner and the CEO, you're lying to yourself both ways. Oh, yes, Mr. Owner, I did a great job. You're brilliant, Brad. We love you. Thank you for doing such a great job. No, if
Yeah.
when I'm the chairman of the company, the CEO has worked 10 times harder than if I was the CEO of the company, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's easy to fall into the trap of day to day, week to week. The hard thing to do, and when I sit with people and say, okay, let's do your 3 to 5 year visioning. Where are we going to go? What's our objective in 3 to 5 years? It's hard sometimes for people to do that. People haven't been taught to dream big. They've been taught to think 10% more, let's get 10% better than last year, sort of thing. And most people set their business goals, Jenny, based around their own needs and wants rather than around the size of the market. I'll give you an example.
Hmm.
If we're mining for gold, we find a hill, there's gold in that hill, we do all of the surveys, we find out there's $1 billion worth of gold, we can get to $800 million worth of it economically viable. Yeah, but Brad, I only need 100,000 a year to live, so I'm just going to mine just 100,000 a year out of it
Yeah,
and not worry about the 800 million out of it. And that's what most people do. If the market size is a billion and you're only going for a couple of 100,000, that doesn't make any sense. If there's four competitors and there's a billion a year, well, you should be aiming for at least 250, right?
exactly.
And so set your goals based on the market size and the market needs and the market wants and desires rather than on your own personal needs, wants, and desires, and rather than on your past performance. Goals should never be driven by past performance. And that's why we start with dreams. My formula for success is dream, goal, learn, plan, act. Dream first of what could be and then work backwards from there. They didn't say, oh, can we get, JFK said we choose to go to the moon, not because it's the easiest of things, because it's the hardest of things. They didn't say, well, let's get a rocket 10% further than we got it last week.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. I love working from the end goal and working backwards. I always do that. It's the way to actually make it happen because if not, you're going to throw up barriers in your way, I think, and you're not
yeah,
going to
well,
get there.
NASA invented PERT, program evaluation review technique, based on getting a man back from the moon. I mean, that's what they did, and that's always worked backwards from the end result. And
Hmm.
it's a great little book, Dan Sullivan, and the 10x is easier than 2x. If I say double your business, people go, I got to double my workload. If I said 10 times your business, people think I got to do it entirely differently. And most people to get scale have to do something entirely differently to what they're doing today.
Yeah.
The systems you have today, like I reset a goal for one of our companies to go from hundreds of millions to billions. And a good friend of mine, Jeffrey Gittimer, turned to me and in his typical style said, well, Brad, you're no longer good to great. You're now bleep to okay. And it was like, really, Jeffrey? You have to point that out? He said, yeah, all the systems that are great for 100 million a year are going to fail for billions. And that's the same for any size business. All your systems that are great for 10 customers will fail when you've got 100 customers.
Completely.
So you've got to break your systems and rebuild them as often as you possibly can.
That happened to me in the end of 2024. I broke my systems.
Yeah,
And
you
the,
have to. If
yeah,
you're not breaking your systems and you're not making mistakes, then you're not growing.
yeah, exactly. One thing I really desperately wanted to talk to you about is like lead generation and launches, right?
Mhm.
You've done countless within the different companies, but I want to kind of have you think back to when you were really trying to get Action Coach off the ground and grow. When it was coming to lead gen, what was the most effective technique that you were using?
Most effective technique is get other people to fill the room. Don't do it yourself. Go
Yeah.
to people that have databases and give them a purpose and a reason to promote you. I did it like when I first launched Action Coach, I partnered with the local newspaper group, and that was across Australia, and then across New Zealand, I partnered with a radio station, More FM. And so the newspaper group across Australia, they put 200 between the two groups, they put 288,000 people in free seminars for me. And that I would never have been able to afford the marketing for 288,000 people, but all of them, their databases in each city, they had 30 to 50,000 people on their database that were business owners that were advertisers. And I was
Mm,
like, who wants my product in front of the world more than me?
yeah.
And so the newspaper, they had all these people running ads that didn't know how to answer the phone, didn't know how to convert the ads. I sat with the marketing manager of the newspaper. I said, well, hey, if we ran seminars to teach them how to answer the phone calls and do better work and get more business out of the ads, would that help? He said, that would help immeasurably. I said, well, great. I love advertising and I love teaching people to advertise. What if I got in front of all of your advertisers and told them they should do more advertising and here's how they should do it and here's how they should answer the phones? And he said, well, that'd be a wonderful thing. And he said, how much are you going to charge me for that? I said, absolutely nothing. All you have to do is send this letter. And I gave him the letter and these free tickets and printed out. You have to print these letters and send them to all your customer database. And you have to run these ads in your newspaper every single week. And he said, fantastic, we'll do that. I said, I'll pay for all the venues. I'll pay for everything else. You just put them in the room and hey, presto. Well, the first one we did was a complete flop. We had a room for 150 people. We had 7 people show up, and I think one of them was a drunk from the bar outside. But 12 months later, we had 1,700 people in the Brisbane City Town Hall, and the rest is history.
That's amazing. I love partnerships. When I think of connecting and partnering with people, you do have to dream big in that space. Like for you to go and talk to the newspaper, you basically had to say, if they say no, they say no. But if I don't ask, I'm never going to know.
Yeah,
Right.
most people try and get one customer at a time. I think that's the problem with most marketers. They're trying to get one at a time, and that's not marketing, that's sales.
Yeah.
You've got to go and get thousands at a time is the goal. And unless you're trying to get hundreds or thousands at a time, it's not marketing, it's just sales.
What do you think of SLOs, self-liquidating offers?
Um, Look, they are the unicorn of marketing. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. If I can have a self-liquidating offer that generates a database for me, and does that, in most cases, what you'll find is your acquisition cost needs to be 30, 60, 90 days before you recoup.
Yeah.
So, that upfront offer, the $7, the $27, the $39, the $99 offer, they're beautiful offers. I personally prefer to go with free
Hmm.
and then convert. Like even for a seminar, we still use them massively around the world right now. If I go into a city and I do a seminar and I charge people $99 to come to a 3-hour event, right? Yeah, it gets me a more qualified audience, but it also means that one guy or that one gal who needed the help and needed to grow didn't come to the event because they couldn't afford the $99. And it means 12 months later, I don't have them as a customer.
True. True.
The free offer in my book removes all barrier to entry and it gets everyone in my door. And then my emails have to be good enough to qualify to get them to take action, sort of thing. I would rather have a higher volume MQL of
Hmm.
lower quality, because 2 years from now, that low quality MQL is probably going to be a high quality MQL.
Yep. Exactly. Just even through the process of attrition, having them leave your audience, like self-selecting out because it's not a fit or whatnot, and you end up with that
Yeah.
good core audience for
I think a
sure.
lot of people's email marketing is just way too weak, and they're too wimpy on their email marketing. Like they say, oh, I'll send one a week. Look, statistics are showing us right now, one a week, you're between 15, 30% open rate, right? And,
Yep.
and people are saying, oh, no, I get 80% open rate. No, you don't. We got 80% open rate when email first started. No one gets that today. Um, but also people are silly about their emails, Jenny. They put the wrong words in there. They put the word free, which gets them a ding. Like you get 3 or 4 points, depending upon which email system you're following. You get 3 or 4 negative points, and you're in spam
Yeah.
instantaneously. People put the word unsubscribe in their email. You can't do that. Put click here in their email. Put dear someone or other. Put Happy New Year. Put Merry Christmas. You put all these things in your newsletter, in your email, or you call it a newsletter. And,
I
and it just
know.
gets dinged and you're in Spamville straight away. But let's just go back to basic stats, pretend you're doing the right things. Okay. About 30% will open if you're doing a good job. If you send every day, it'll go down to about half of what your weekly open rate will be. But it's not the same people every day. It's a different group of people. So by sending every day, and that takes a lot of work,
Hmm.
it's going to move it up to 35, 40% of your database is going to see an email from you every week, rather than just that 20 or 30 that opens on that one day a week. So I think you've got to be much better at email marketing today and nurturing today. COVID changed the way marketing happens. People are unwilling, and the stats are showing me very clearly again, 40% of the market does not want to speak to a salesperson before they buy right now.
No.
Majority of the market wants to be 60 to 80% of the way through the sales process before talking to a human being, before connecting with a company. So they want to do all the research. Most companies don't have enough video, they don't have enough audio, they don't have enough downloads on their website for someone to get enough education to be able to learn all of the things. Google's 7-Eleven 4 was their ZMOT study was such an amazing thing to validate what we were saying about you must have a lot more video, a lot more audio, a lot more podcasts, a lot more things to build a relationship with your customer before they even want to talk to a human being in your organization.
I agree. And I think there's a tipping point too of the amount of content that you build. And then all of a sudden you're starting to see those results and it takes time. And some people just don't have the patience for that build up. But I think it's
Yeah.
really, really necessary. And you have to be able to say, like, if you're launching a new business or if you're launching a new product or something, you've got to give the time for the numbers to work in your favor
Hmm.
versus you
Well,
going like 3 months, like 60 days or whatever, and it doesn't work. I'm going to abandon it.
yeah, I had a debate with someone yesterday around podcasts. They're like, well, they said once you get 50, it'll be this. And then, and if you build it, they will come. I said, yeah, but you've got to run ads to your podcast. If you're
Yeah.
not spending money advertising each podcast, I remember I interviewed Darren Cahill, who's Yannick Sinner's tennis coach and was Andre Agassi's and Leighton. Like he's had four number one tennis players. We put money behind that and advertised it specifically to tennis people, people who wanted success in tennis. And that brought us a whole new audience. And then, yours, we put money behind it and put it to people that wanted to build events. And so, people, there's a difference between build it and they will come and build it and actually tell the world you've built it.
Yeah.
Telling the world
Exactly.
you built it's kind of important.
A little bit, just a tad.
But then you go back to SEO. I mean, one of my agencies that works for us doing our SEO, we sit down and we look at, like, I could look at anyone's website and I could tell you that there's probably 200, 300, 400 toxic backlinks. And unless you go in and disavow them, Google's not going to send you traffic.
Yeah.
And just simple things like that where people aren't willing to dive into SEMrush, Ahrefs, whatever technology is needed to be able to know what they're doing. I think that marketing is moving so fast, Jenny, and we do this personally. We have a simple policy. If it's a strategy that stays the same, we'll do it in-house. If it's strategy that needs updating every week or every month, we'll use an agency. So like
Hmm.
our advertising, we use agencies. We can't keep up with Meta. We can't keep up with Google and YouTube. Can't do it.
No,
Just
daily
cannot
changes.
in-house.
Yeah.
But an agency that their whole life is doing that, they see it, they do it. But if
Yep.
it's referrals, we'll do that in-house. Referrals is easy. We got that one covered. We can do that system.
Absolutely. In between everything that you're building, I'm sure you've got tons of people, especially with your daily emails. That's
Mm.
what I love about that connection process. And if you send a daily email, you're going to get people going, "Oh, you're looking for a such and such. I get these emails from this guy, this company, this whatever." And, it becomes front of mind because you're staying front of mind.
Mm. You don't know what day of the week that person's going to get annoyed with their current provider.
No. And you don't
Like
know which
we,
day of week they're checking their emails, if they're checking
yep.
their emails at all.
Yeah, Sunday night. Sunday night's the best one to reach high level business people. I know that. But like one of my companies is a commercial cleaning company. So we door knock everywhere that we open a new, every territory we open, we door knock every business and we just offer them a simple quote or
Hmm.
action plan to take over. And we just put them on a database and we continually drip them. And you don't know the day when they walk in and go, oh my God, these cleaners are awful. What's that company that keeps emailing us? What's that company that send us that thing every.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why and I wanted to get your opinion on this. Do you believe in having a unsubscribe sequence basically? Like if somebody doesn't action off your emails after 6 months, do you unsubscribe them?
No, never.
Right?
Spend all that work getting them on there. Come on. Unless they tell me to go away, I'm not going away.
Exactly. Exactly. Because as soon as you do that, I have people who have sat on my list for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years
Mm-hmm.
before they then create an action of booking a call, buying a service, whatever it is. And I'll ask them, like, hey, just as just how did we connect? Oh, I saw you on a summit 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Or I saw you speak last year in Orlando.
Yeah.
And you've been sitting on my list quietly ever since. And that
We,
is so
yeah.
cool.
And it costs you nothing to keep them on your list, let's be
Yeah.
honest. Back in the day when I had to do it with direct mail, I was like, this person hasn't bought anything in a year and a half, and we're spending, every month we're sending a direct mail piece to them. What should we
Yeah.
do? And even then, it was like, come on, dude, all you're spending $12 a year to communicate with people, $1 a month. Don't be stupid to get them off your database for $1 a month, sort of thing. And
Exactly.
but your database is the number one most important asset of your business. And so
Mm,
that's why, that's why my marketing book's called Raise Your Hand Marketing, because your job is to get people to raise their hand twice. Number one, raise your hand, say I'm interested. Number two, raise your hand, say I'm ready.
exactly.
So if you're not getting them to raise their hand to say I'm interested, it's probably because you don't have enough offers to get them to say they're interested. Like, what's your ebook offers? What's your webinar offers? What are the things that people can say, hey, I'm interested? The handbook of how to buy business coaching. Like,
Hmm.
it's not hard. We use price lists because every country we operate in the world has a different pricing point. So if you want to
Hmm.
get the price list, you can go in and say, hey, I'm Jenny. I'm from the United States. I'm in this state. Here's my email and phone number. Please send me the price list. Like, it's not hard to think of things that people want. And you just say, hey, give us your details. We'll email it to you.
What's getting in people's way then?
Um, People want to get married. Let me put that.
Please explain.
You don't go out on a date, or you don't, like, if the first time I met my wife, I went, yeah, I think I'm going to marry this person. And I had asked her on that first date, then scared off, run away, the whole thing. You gotta court them, sort of thing.
Hmm.
Most websites you go to, it's like, buy my stuff, not, hey, can we get a coffee? So
Exactly.
more, hey, can we get a coffee offers, less, hey, buy my stuff. It's like, I'm sure it happens to you all the time. I have someone now run my LinkedIn because I just couldn't be bothered dealing with all of this stuff. But you get those person that reaches out, they connect with you on LinkedIn. And then the first email is like, hey, buy my stuff.
Literally had that this morning.
My first email to everyone, if they become a subscriber, a follower, whatever, is, hey, here's a gift.
Hmm.
Here's a training course we did. And I'm not sure if you're interested in business, wealth, or life coaching. But here's a training course we did that'll give you an idea. So at the end of this, though, you'll know where we can help you best. But this will give you a great year. It'll help you build a plan for the year.
Yes.
Give
Always
me a
start with that.
gift.
During the pandemic, I was trying to grow, I live in a condo and I was trying to grow like tomatoes indoors.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a webinar that was being run by this guy who had like a greenhouse thing and he was teaching people how to grow um, vegetables very cheaply inside and during the pandemic. And I signed up for his newsletter. I went to his webinar, and the first email that I got not only had a gift, but then it told me what to expect. And it said, the next email I'm going to send you is going to have this subject line. So look out for it. And it's going to have the next thing that I want to give you completely. Like, I just want you to have it. It's a gift for you. And then they followed through. And then that email said, I'm going to send you another email. I just thought of something else I think you could like. Here's the, watch out for this subject line. Make sure it's not in your spam folder, blah, blah, blah. And it was good. It was like treasure hunt. I was like, okay, now when is this email going to come in?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was
You've got to
perfect.
build, it's even simple things like, if you've got a 9 email nurture sequence, you actually tell people that there's, tip 1 of 9 type thing. That should be your
Yes.
thing. Say it's simple. It's like, there's first tip is coming today, or step 1 of 6. Like, we do a
Hmm.
nurture sequence, which is our 6 steps to grow a business. And so we actually send it as 7, because we say, okay, the first one is going to be overall, and then I'm going to break down each of the next 6 areas for you. So
Hmm.
step 1 of 7, this is email 1 of 7. Yeah, you've got to do those things. But, people love learning how to buy what you sell. And you've got to be clear on making it easy, making it simple, but giving them education. Marketing today is a lot more education than it's ever been in the past.
Yep. People are more savvy. You got to
And you've got to
respect
teach
that.
them how to buy it too. Like, if, what's something oh, a certain valet here in Vegas decided to park my Lamborghini and scrape the rim on the thing. And it was like,
Oh my God.
oh, I got to get that fixed. And I hit this website of this guy. It's called The Wheel King. And it said, here's the 4 things you got to look for when you're buying someone to fix the rims on your exotic car. And he took me through and he took me through and he took me through and he took me through. And he said, if someone meets these 4 things, then you should buy from them. And I'm like, well, obviously you meet those 4 things. So, because
So
I
I'm just
call
going to buy
that
from
guy and
you.
say, you've got to educate people more and more
Yeah,
today than you've ever done before.
I agree. And I call it making it stupid simple.
Well, here's the thing. you've been doing it so long, whatever it is you sell or whatever it is you do, you've been doing it so long, you've forgotten all of the micro parts to it. So it's rare that you can actually think in the customer's mindset because you skip over 4 or 5 steps that the customer needs to go through. And so that's why it's good to have outsiders look at it and see, does this go into enough detail sort of thing.
Agreed.
Um, mm.
I love it. Um, Brad, we can keep geeking out all day, and I would like to geek out. It was just so much fun to talk about this stuff. I just before we wrap, I just wanted to ask you if, what mistake or lesson would you give somebody who's been listening to this and going, all right, I'm really screwing up and I need to get my, what in order. What would you tell them?
Oh, look, first of all, get outside help. I think
Yeah.
that, business is a team sport and it's not something where you have to do it all on your own and where you have to learn it all on your own. It's like, I went and we've just rebuilt our website for actioncoach.com and people say, oh, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I said, yeah, imagine how much it would have cost me though to not build it, to try and do it myself, to try and do all those things. I think we've just got to understand the fact that you can recruit people, you can have virtual people, like a virtual CMO today, as you do. People need to get the help, I think is the first thing. The other is stop. The things you should stop doing are more important than the things you should start doing.
There's a
You know,
longer list of the things that you should stop doing.
in most cases, yeah. And when I sit down and coach people, the first thing I do is that, okay, what are the things we've got to get you to stop doing?
Mhm.
Okay, what are the sabotage things you're doing, all that sort of stuff. And if we can get past that, then we can get the things to do on your list because we've got the time. Look,
I keep saying to people, stop playing in Canva, please. Like you charge
oh
people
yeah.
$500 an hour and you're playing in Canva. I have a virtual assistant for that, right?
Yeah, I remember as a young man, I set myself a price limit. If I could pay someone less than $25 an hour to do it, I would never do it. And of course, that price has
Goes
gone
up.
up
Yeah,
over the years. But if you're a business person and you find yourself washing the dishes when you get home, or doing your laundry, or mowing the lawn, and you make 300 bucks an hour over there, and you're doing something you could pay someone 12 bucks an hour over there, that's just silly.
it is.
Don't time is the valuable resource, even if you pay them just so you can spend more time with your kids or stuff like that. But you've got to know where you're going. You got to have a plan to get where you're going, where you are, a plan to go from there to there. And that's really just all you can do to just keep going. But the biggest advice I give anyone in any business scenario, anywhere in life, is you've just got to keep growing. You, I remember as a 16-year-old boy, I met Jim Rohn and E. James Rohn. Mr. Rohn sort of inspired me with so many things. And he said, never wish life were easier, wish that you were better. And I realized that my job is to build the best version of me possible. If you stop growing, your business will stop growing. If you stop learning, the business will stop growing. And the learning you do, the person you become, the business owner you become is the biggest success you'll have in your life. But until you become great, you won't. Do we have time for a 60-second story?
Go for
My dad, I was 20 or 21 years of age, and I went to my dad, and he'd run big companies. And I said, Dad, you know what? I just can't get good people. And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, Brad, you get the people you deserve. I went, what? He said, Brad, you're an average manager running an average company. Only type of person wants to work for you is average or below. You want great people? You got to become a great leader, a great manager, run a great company. Then great people want to join your team.
it. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sugars. That's
Oh, yeah,
freaking
he's blunt.
awesome. I love blunt, honestly. I do. I think I do not like to sugarcoat and have all the fluff. Just tell me as it is, and then I can go take action. I
Yeah.
don't need somebody to pat me on the back while they're doing it either. Just give me the direction.
Yeah.
How can people find you? Where do you want to send people who are listening to this? Because if you've listened this far, then you probably like what Brad's got to say and you probably want to check him out.
Amazon for the books, bradsugars.com for the training programs, actioncoach.com if you want to go and grab one of my coaches. We're in 83 countries, so wherever you are, I'm pretty sure we got someone. Or if you want to become a coach, come join us.
There you go. Amazing. We'll put all that in the show notes as well. And if you're listening to this point, thank you. I love doing this podcast, but if you want to help me out, please go and make sure you do subscribe to the channel that this is on, wherever it is that you're listening to it, YouTube or Apple or whatnot. And then, of course, I have my own stuff. I have my own companies that I'm working on, but I'd love you to go check out jennywright.com, see if there's something there that's helpful. I've got a lot of free resources for you there. And if you're looking to grow your business, look at joining Many Bundles as a contributor or somebody who wants to grab all of the different gifts that we have on Many Bundles, and just go to manybundles.com and check that out. Thanks so much, Brad. Appreciate you being here. All right, everybody, take care. We'll talk to you soon.